Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us here at Piper Peach this afternoon for our election evening results. I'm Aaron Ellison here with Mike Ellison this afternoon here in the Piper Peach studio. We are still waiting for results to begin to come in this afternoon. So we just want to take just a moment and kind of just set the tone for today here in Chilton County. It is an unusual election today in the fact normally when we have run a primary, it's we expect some type of runoff, but today in Alabama, a unique situation, Mike. It is a winner take all today.
It absolutely is. We have several candidates on the ballots.
We do here for the 6th Congressional District here in Chilton County, there was 2 ballots today. You did have a Republican ballot and a Democrat ballot today. Just kind of briefly to go over those, on the Republican side, we have our current congressman incumbent, Gary Palmer. He's 6th term. He has represented our area for quite some time now, and he is very tenured there and very well respected in Washington, running for another term. And then you also have Case Dixon, who is a relative newcomer to politics, comes from a healthcare background, and he has based his campaign on being the outsider. He is someone coming from outside of the political realm. There. So on the Republican side, that's the 2 candidates that were on the ballot today. Looking at all the polling numbers, Mike, it looks like Gary Palmer is heavily favored to win that.
Is. He's certainly expected he's going to win. I think he's done a good job.
Gary's
he's
done a phenomenal job. I've had the opportunity to visit with him in his office on several occasions there in D.C. The Cannon office building there, and him and his staff have always been very cordial, very inviting. They have always been attentive to needs that have arisen among the electorate. They've been very responsive. So he has really handled that office really well, and I think he has delivered results. And based upon the polling that we've seen from several different polling outlets around, Gary is the heavy favorite to win that Republican nomination.
That's right. On the Democrat side, as you mentioned, here in District 6, we have 4 candidates that are on the ballot, which I'm not familiar with any of them, Aaron, to be honest. But that is Jacob, and I think that's Boma Sims.
Correct.
Ashton Kennedy, Maurice Mercer, and Keith Pilkington. I don't know that I've seen any. I know I haven't seen any polling about this particular race.
There's been a lot of polling. Like I said, this is one of those that's going to depend on the Democrat side who can get their people to the polls for that. The one that probably has the political experience in that group of people is going to be Maurice Mercer, who is a former member of the Pelham City Council, served as president of the City Council there. He's a small business owner. He's also a labor organizer, so he does have some just practical government experience there that is probably going to be very helpful to him. Ashton Kennedy is she has identified herself as a working class candidate, substitute teacher, coach. She has several different private sector experiences. Jacob Boma Sims is he's a retail worker. He's a graduate at the University of Montevallo, history graduate. He's a disability rights, self-advocacy. He's an organizer in that realm. And then Keith Pilkington is actually a registered nurse and an Army veteran who served in Kosovo, Iraq, and Afghanistan in the military there. So kind of a wide range of backgrounds from the Democratic candidates there.
Right. As you were talking, I do recall hearing Mr. Mercer's name before. Yeah, I sure do.
Yes, he's, like I said, the political experience there. He did serve on the and think about it, is the Republican Party's been in this situation in the past too, but I think the Democrat Party right now is really experiencing an identity crisis.
I agree. They sure are. Aaron, what we want to do now is we're going to go take a break, but I want to come back and talk about District 2 on the Republican side, because that's the district that is going to be the most talked about, because that is where one of our current representatives, Shamari Figures, he represents, and he's a Democrat.
Correct.
And now it's been gerrymandered, which is the term I use. I just remember reading that in high school history about gerrymandering, and it's just stuck with me. Anytime you hear about redistricting, somebody's going to call it that.
Absolutely.
So anyway, we're going to take a break now, but we'll be right back, and we're going to come back. We'll talk about District 1 and 2, who have multiple candidates running for U.S. representative. So we're going to take a break now, 7:43 on Piper Peach Radio, and we've got Aaron Ellison, and I'm Mike Ellison, and we'll be right back after these words from our sponsors.
Welcome back in. Again, thank you for joining us on Piper Peach Radio this afternoon as we await election results from the congressional primary today. We know that today that voter turnout has been extremely low, which was to be expected today.
Disappointing, but expected.
I know when I voted about 5 o'clock at my polling place, which is precinct 140 at Union Grove, at 5 o'clock I was 134. So very obvious that it has been a very low voter turnout today. We do believe, and it's been projected, that that's going to play out statewide today.
11% voted in the runoff in June, according to the Secretary of State, and 23% were voted in May, which is, was the first primary, which was eventually nullified or voided by our state legislature so that we could be holding this primary today.
Yeah, with the United States Supreme Court ruling, that sent it back to the states, basically, and the legislature was able to enact the changed maps, and that's what brings us to this point today.
Well, I believe it was in 2023 when the legislature made their proposal about which, how they were going to redistrict, redraw the districts, and they were taken to court. And the court ruled in the favor of the plaintiffs and said, yes, you have drawn this. They said, went so far as to say it was intentional on their part, not just an accidental or, coincidental, but intentional that the Republicans had intentionally drawn this district, which is no great surprise. It's the way it's done. Has always been done. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but the party in charge usually gets to make the call.
That is correct.
And so, when it was 3-judge panel, they're all federal judges, all federal appointed, and they basically drew their own map.
Correct.
And that was what we used in 24, or 23 actually, I guess it was, to elect, or no, it was 24. The current representative is Shamari Figures. He's from Mobile.
Yes, for District 2 there.
That's correct. And there are 6 Republicans vying for that tonight. And with that winner take all, that could get real interesting.
It very well could.
And say 7 or 8% voter turnout. Fewer votes.
It's that
stretched
situation.
Across 6 candidates. Wow.
It goes back to what candidate can get their folks to the polls today. The race down in District 2, the National Republican Party has really looking at that because they have identified Figures as one that they feel very confident that they can potentially beat in this this election cycle. So there's money.
Pick up another seat.
And I think once we get a candidate identified today, I think you will see a big push from the National Republican Party behind whoever the winning candidate is today, because they have, like I said, they have identified Figures as a very vulnerable representative, and they want to flip that seat back.
The Republicans think they can pick up that seat, and right now I think they have maybe a 6-seat majority out of 435 representatives.
Very close.
It's the closest it's ever been.
Right.
And in my lifetime, I've never seen it like this. It's always been. There have been swings, Republican and Democrat, but they were always 10, 15, 20 votes. It was like they had control. But think about trying to keep. I think it's 218. Republicans, 212 Democrats, and maybe some independents. So it's not. You can't get them all on the same page, Aaron. They have not been able to do it. It's very difficult to do it, and so yes, we have the Republicans. I should say have the majority, but it hasn't really translated into what we probably had hoped that they would be able to accomplish.
Correct.
Everything.
Correct. We've seen a lot of disputes along, policy lines, and so the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, he has had a very tough time of being able to pull his party together and unify them in a majority fashion. And same way in the Senate with Leader Thune, he has had a hard time being able to rein in the different factions of the Republican members in the Senate,
and they have a 53 to 47, I guess it would be, or 45, I think, and 2 independents. The one guy from Maine, and who's the other independent? I don't remember. Angus King is the guy from Maine.
And
I can't remember, but there is another senator, I believe, who said, it's not Fetterman? He didn't go independent,
no,
did he?
He's not.
Okay.
I think it's all right. I think it may be Sanders.
Oh, that's right, Bernie.
Bernie Sanders is independent.
You're exactly right, from Vermont.
Caucuses with the Democrat Party, but
good old New England sticking to their history, aren't they?
Correct.
You know?
It's amazing, Mike, when you go and you walk the halls of Congress to see just how divided it really is there. Because just not just from a political sense of being that, but the ideologically divide there. Like I said, I go to D.C. At least once a year, and it's I walk up and down the office buildings on the House of Representatives side and on the Senate side, and each if you've never been to D.C., to kind of set this up for you, as you walk down the halls where all the offices are, each member is allowed to have flags displayed outside their office. It's normally their state flag, and then if they've served in the military, it's their branch of service, or if it's a cause that they champion. Just to walk down through there and see how far apart it has grown ideologically is just something. I mean, it's very. We hear about it on the news, but when you go and you see it in person and see just how divided it is, and that when your majority is so slim, just trying to move legislation through, it's it's near about impossible. It's just gridlock.
Well, we had a story today that we discussed on our morning show about Senator Britt and how this person offered their opinion that she seemed in a great position to assume the role that Senator Graham had from South Carolina, which was almost like a quasi mediator. Yeah. He would go to the, I guess I'll say, what would you call them? The Thune Republicans. The establishment Republicans. That's what I was trying to say.
Lindsey Graham built a great legacy of being able to reach across into different factions, not only within his own party,
that's right,
but to reach across the aisle and pull. He may not have won everybody, but to be able to convince just enough to come on board to be able to move something through.
I was just going to say, there's very few things have moved, but it's a lot to do because he did what he did. He did his thing.
He did,
yeah.
And that's another election that's up today, just on the national scale, is his replacement there, and we know that the president has endorsed his sister Darlene. So it'll be interesting to see how that race plays out also today there in South Carolina.
Yes, I was fortunate enough myself to be able to go through D.C. several years ago, and we had it was a friend of mine was from Rhode Island. And he was friends with their congressman. I forget his name, but he was disabled. He was in a wheelchair. I forget Jim. He had some sort of like swimming or diving accident, I believe, if I remember right. And we got to go in his office. And you know what? The thing about the representative's office, they're so small.
They are.
I've never. I mean, it was so crammed, and we had about 15 people. And we got in there to get a picture with him, and I mean, we were real close to each other.
Another interesting fact in D.C. is that the members do not choose their offices. It is appointed unto them based upon their seniority,
correct,
and their rank. So yes, on the House side, there's some variation, not a lot. Some of the more senior members have offices that are a little bit larger in space, not much, but it is a tight space there. Where you really notice the difference is on the Senate side of it.
I have not been there.
The Senate side, you've got one building of the Senate that is kind of it's a multi-story there, and it reminded me of almost kind of like little apartments that they had there. The offices were kind of small, but kind of make you think similar to a House of Representative office. But then you go over to the other Senate building where your more senior senators are at. You have offices that take up whole hallways. They have multiple rooms. They have press conference rooms. They have large staffs, very opulent offices there. So you see more of the seniority on the Senate side than you do really on the House side there. I remember when Katie Barrett first went in, she was in the small office in one building. Tuberville was over in the other office, and the group that I was with, we remarked at how stark the difference was in that. And then actually last year, Senator Britt was appointed an office in the other building. So her and Tuberville are in the same building. Actually on the same floor, I believe now there. So
Of course, we'll have a new senator in November.
yes,
Barry Moore is running
Sure.
on the Republican side,
side.
and frankly, I don't know who the Democratic opponent is.
yeah, not right off. Barry's a great guy. I've been in his office and had the opportunity to visit with him
'Cause
again.
he's a current representative, right?
He is
Right.
very cordial, very
In fact, I
very
think
good
he
to work
was
with.
in District 2, wasn't he?
I believe so. They are from down in that lower part of the state there. It's always
No, I'm sorry. He was District 1.
correct. Yes,
I'm sorry.
yes.
I just remembered. He was District 1. And they've both been redrawn, was because Mr. Jerry Carl
Yes.
was who he defeated.
That is correct. But it's interesting to see that, and so a lot of things in play. Like I said, as far as once we get to November, who is going to maintain control of both the House and the Senate there from the national level. And Mike, I was just looking, and it still looks like there's nobody that is reporting
No
official
results found, right,
that's
from the
what it
Secretary of
keeps-
State. And I just wanted to remind our listeners of that very thing, too, is why we're
Yeah.
unable to share that with you, is because it hasn't been released yet. In
And-
fact, it may not be released.
It is. It could be a while, and just so our viewers realize today, with this being a special called primary, and there only being one office, like I said, here in Chilton County, there's one office on the ballot. So this is, I know a lot of our listeners and viewers are used to in the past. They, normally expect people to gather for results and stuff, but this is not one of those occasions. And like I said, that evident by the lower voter turnout today. So
Right.
we want to get you the results as we get them, but we want them to be accurate. And we are monitoring several different avenues for that this evening. And again, as of right now, there is no official reporting as of the moment. So we're going to stay with you, and just as soon as we have something to bring to you as far as results, we will bring them to you just immediately as it pops on our screen here. But just so our listeners and viewers know, it's not a normal election.
It is
evening.
not. Unprecedented. Never to happen before.
Yes.
Well, before we went to the last break, I was talking about the candidates on the Republican side who are running, and there are 6. There's a gentleman by the name of Hampton Harris, a Christian Horn, Rhett Marcus, I guess. It's not Marquise? I'm sure it's Marcus. David Matthews, Joshua McKee, and James Richardson. What I know about the folks running is that Rhett Marquis has President Trump's endorsement.
Correct, he does. Rhett Marquis, he's a state representative from down in Enterprise, longtime business owner down there, and he is endorsed not only by President Trump, but he is also endorsed by Senator Katie Britt. She did make an endorsement in that race, and he did.
She also is from Enterprise.
Correct. She has made an endorsement there. So, but down those lists, he is probably the one. I would say probably the one to really keep an eye on for the night there, because like we said, this is a winner take all. There is
That's
no
right.
runoff, so it's whoever can
You need
garner
one
the
more
most
vote
votes.
than the next person,
The
second place.
Hampton Harris he's a Montgomery attorney, a real estate broker, small business owner, and just as a point of reference, he's probably the youngest person in this race. He's 29 years old. That's Hampton Harris. Christian Horn is businessman. He's long time been involved in the Republican Party as an activist. He previously run for Secretary of State. You have David Matthews, who is from the Ozark area down there. He was actually a two-time Trump appointee in the Trump administration, served in the USDA there.
I thought he would have as good a shot as anybody. I don't know how much the endorsement is going to help Mr. Marquise or Marcus, but I thought Matthews, because of that connection, might have a good shot at winning.
Yeah, he's got a lot of agricultural experience also, and especially being down in that part of the state, a large agricultural presence. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out into that. The other two candidates, Joshua McKee, he's a retired Green Beret, disabled veteran business owner there. He's kind of running a platform of VA reform. And then you have James Richardson, who is, a Marine veteran, former military police officer, and he is from the Headland area down there in South Alabama.
Just outside of Dothan.
So whoever wins this tonight, like I said, will face Shamari figures. I expect to see a large influx from the National Party to this because, like we said just a moment ago, they have identified him as one that they firmly believe that is vulnerable and they can flip that seat. So, actually, with this one, Mike, I wouldn't be surprised in this race down there if we don't see, like you said, Senator Britt and President Trump get involved to really make a push to flip that seat.
And they should. I'm glad that it's really amazing how far we've come when we look at elections and we're able to break things down by county, even within the county. And to see it on the national news on a national election night, for example, they'll go to a particular state and then they'll show you all the counties that are red or blue or whatever, or white, whatever, if they're, like up for grabs. But they can even break it down even further. They go back and now they have all the information so quick, at their fingertips. They can go back several elections and say, historically, this county has done this. And but here, they have an influx of new residents, and now it's turned this way. Like the state of Georgia is a great example.
Absolutely.
I mean, it was a solid red state. If you want to use the colors that they use, the Republicans owned that state for years, and then can you believe it? The last two elections, they have elected 2 Democratic senators, and one of them's up for grabs this time. Was just David, is it Ossoff?
Yeah,
John Ossoff. That's right.
Up.
Excuse me.
You're seeing that some of these areas are turning. We use the term purple. They're purple now because it's a toss up. Could go either
between
way.
red and blue.
Could go
Mix
either way. There's a lot to look at. This evening, when you look at it from the nationwide, perspective there of the long-term implications of, what tonight will bring and who will be facing who there. So
I did not anticipate, Aaron, that they were not going to be releasing this information. I thought it would be very quickly they would do it.
We did initially with that, and according to the Secretary of State's office, I think they are. That's what it's looking like. It doesn't look like there's going to be quick results to this, and again, it probably has to do with the, with it just being the only thing on the ballot today,
and the simple uniqueness of the ballot today.
Correct.
Here in Alabama, at least. Well, listen. While we're talking about it, District 1. There's a gentleman running named Jerry Carl. He, I don't know if he was. I don't know if he ever did. He get elected? I think he may. I think he.
Yes, he's running for his old seat.
And he lost to figures. Wasn't it him that lost last time?
Well, when that district
24?
was combined, it pitted him and Barry Moore against each other.
That's right. We did talk about that. My bad. That's correct. But anyway, there's a gentleman named Lucas Berger, Jerry Carl, John Mills, and Austin Sidwell. So they have 4 candidates. again, Carl was probably the best known, at least that's the one I know
He has
about.
the name recognition.
There you go,
there
exactly.
there.
So that'll probably help. I don't know if he's been endorsed or not. I do not know.
But yeah, that will be an interesting one to watch out of there. I think just from some preliminary polling that I've seen out of District 1, Jerry Carl, like I said, with that name recognition comes into that as a strong candidate to take his seat back. Just kind of jumping around, just with the AP has reported, we was just talking about Lindsey Graham and his impact. His sister Darlene is going to advance to a runoff in the state of South Carolina. There again, that's a traditional runoff where a candidate had to reach 50% plus one, and out of that field, none did. But she will be advancing to a runoff there to continue to seek to replace her brother there in the U.S. Senate.
Didn't get the majority though. I'm surprised at that.
Yeah,
somewhat surprised.
Yeah, her and Representative Ralph Norman will be facing each other in the runoff. So
I forgot about Mr. Norman. He may be he may be quite the opponent.
So, and all right, guys, I'm going to. Let me see here. We do have some preliminary stuff coming in that has been sent right at the moment. Let's see here. All right, if y'all will bear with me, we're getting this kind of in short form here, so if you'll just bear with me for just a moment, I'm going to give you the results that we're starting to get in here from Chilton County. This is from the Jemison City Hall, and I'm going to give it to you just as it's been presented to me.
That's where I voted.
This is first is on the Democratic side. Boma Sims received 1 vote, Kennedy 25 votes, Mercer 9 votes, and Pilkington 1 vote. And then on the Republican side, Case Dixon with 29 votes and Gary Palmer with 144 votes. And that's out of the Jemison City Hall there. And currently that is the only one in Chilton County that is reporting right at the moment. So we told you we would bring that. So it looks like those figures are starting to roll in. We're going to go to just a quick break here, and we're going to kind of regroup as that count is starting to go underway, and we will ask that you stay with us. Don't leave us. Local results are starting to come in, and we're going to continue to bring those live to you this evening here on Piper Peach Radio. Thank you for joining us. Welcome back this evening. Thank you again for joining Piper Peach, making us your choice for election night coverage here in Chilton County. We want to jump right back in as more results are starting to come in from our local precincts. Right before we went to break, we give you the results from the Jemison City Hall. 2 more boxes have reported during the break. One is Union Grove. That's my box where I vote. On the Democratic side, Boma Sims 0, Kennedy 5 votes, Mercer 3, Pilkington 1. On the Republican side, Case Dixon received 13 votes to Gary Palmer's 136 votes. The Mars Hill box has also come in, West Chilton there. On the Democratic side, Boma Sims 1 vote, Kennedy 6, Mercer 1, and Pilkington 1. And then on the Republican side, Case Dixon 7, and Gary Palmer 45 there. So kind of as we expected, Mike, there on the Republican side at least, looks like Gary Palmer is going to tote that very heavily tonight.
Yeah, he's certainly dominating here in Chilton County, and I expect that to be even stronger. He's a Shelby County guy, isn't he, if I remember right?
Yes, this district covers Shelby, Chilton, and with this redrawn, it also goes down and covers into parts of Elmore and I think possibly parts of Watauga County also there. So
that's one thing I'm not sure I agree with, and when we do the gerrymandering, is that we split these counties up. We had a split county, for several years. Had 2 different representatives.
We do. I've heard the argument on both sides of that. I've heard the argument that it's good to have one person to go to. Then I've also heard the argument on the other side that when it comes to legislation, if you have it split 2 or 3 ways, you've got 2 or 3 people. That puts you a little bit ahead of the game, so to speak, they say. So I've seen the argument for both, and I honestly...
we have Van Smith also, correct?
On our state, yes, our state representative here. So it's I would say there's pros and cons to either way there on that. So as these results, as they continue to come in this afternoon, like I said, that is so far 3 precincts that are reporting, and
looks like the total was 325 or. Actually, looks like we got their absentee ballots counted now, and the results from First Baptist Central
Campbell Building, was reminding our listeners just briefly that Campbell Building, or the First Baptist Church Annex, used to be the courthouse when it was downtown. We're going to let her come in. She's going to pass Mike's to his there. We'll get Mike on board with what we've got going here.
Thank you.
But that Campbell Building, like I said, that's the new name for what was the courthouse when the courthouse was located downtown. So I'll, Mike, if you want to, I'll let you go over the Campbell Building and also the library that has come in.
All right, I sure will, Aaron. On the Democratic primary, you have Boma Sims, no votes there at the Campbell Building. Kennedy has 7, Mercer 10, Pilkington has none. Which changes, I guess I'll go over the rest of it there at the Campbell Building. On the Republican side, Mr. Dixon, Case Dixon, has 7 votes, Gary Palmer 64, and the Clanton Library is reporting Boma Sims with 1 vote, Ashton Kennedy with 11, Mr. Mercer with 10, and Pilkington with 0. On the Republican side, Dixon has 16 at the library, and Gary Palmer has 133. Updating those totals, Gary Palmer here in Chilton County has 664 votes. His opponent, Case Dixon, has 89. And it looks like Ashton Kennedy has 61 votes and Maurice Mercer 35. on the
Correct.
Democratic side here in Chilton County.
And we've also got the results from Collins Chapel in that on the Democratic side. Boma Sims 0, Kennedy 2, Mercer 0, Pilkington 0. And then on the Republican side, Dixon with 6 to Gary Palmer's 56. And we also have the results from Gap of the Mountain or the Cane Creek box. Democratic side, Boma Sims 0, Kennedy 3, Mercer 2, Pilkington 0. Republican side, Dixon 11, Gary Palmer 69. And it looks like they have also figured in the totals for the absentee there, Mike.
Yes, it looks like there's been a total of 19 absentee ballots cast in Chilton County. 17 of those went for Gary Palmer on the Republican side, and then 2 went to Ashton Kennedy on the Democrat side.
Mike, you look at this spreadsheet and the sparsity of the vote today. It's just really just a handful of voters today.
Well, you mentioned that you were voter 130.
134. That was at 5 o'clock at Union Grove.
Well,
so.
at about 6:15, I stopped at Jemison City Hall and voted there at the Civic Center there, the center, and I was number 203, I think. And I asked the ladies there, which I want to give a shout out to Miss Guy and Miss Roberts and so the other ladies. One of them put a Band-Aid on me. I'd cut my finger walking in. I was trying not to bleed on my clothes. And she fixed me up. But anyway, while I was there, I asked them about how many registered voters we had, and they have that information just readily available. And they said 2,800 and something. So if no one else voted after me, there was only 45 minutes left in before the polls closed. I mean, we're looking at 6 or 7% of the electorate voting, and I'm just shocked at that. I mean, I have missed elections before. I have for various reasons. But, not caring or really, not really being interested in it was not that reason.
Correct.
So I just think it's our civic duty to do it, and I'm proud to see, we've had so many go out and do it because I don't know that our media helps Aaron very much about it because what do they say? Oh, we're going to have a huge low turnout. Well, everybody can listen to that and think, well, we're going to have a low turnout, then I'm not even going to go. I'm like,
that's correct.
What difference is it going to make? Well, it makes a huge difference. I mean, think about it. It's about 6 or 7% in Jemison.
It does.
So if that stayed that way for the whole, the whole time, for every a district or every poll or whatever we call them, the polling places, I mean, you're looking at 1 out of 14 registered voters actually voting. And I said, I'm not here to criticize people specifically, but just in general, it's like, come on, folks.
Voter apathy is something we deal with within every election. It's not just these. Even getting people to the polls, like in November, as big a race as it's going to be on there. I mean,
it'll be the difference maker.
It will be the difference maker, and if this is a way that we have to have a say so in government, and to just sit at home and not do anything. So much has been given to give us the right to be able to vote and participate in elections, and then just to not take advantage of it, that's something else. But Mike, to piggyback on what you said just a moment ago, I want to thank our poll workers today, because I know on days like today when turnout is so low, you can sit there and go for what seems as an hour or two and not have anybody come in, and you're basically just sitting there looking at four walls.
Yeah.
And so I know that can be frustrating. It can be taxing, but to any of our poll workers that's listening or watching this evening, I want you to know you're appreciated. We appreciate what you do. We appreciate your willingness to be able to serve our community on days like today as we carry out this this
huge
sacred
responsibility.
Honor. Yes.
It's a huge responsibility for us to have the right to select our leaders. So many countries are not that way, but we are. I think there must be some glitch or something, because If you see that, the Clanton Rec Center reported, and it shows, you see what it's showing, Dixon having so many more votes, and it looks like, I don't know what's happening. Yeah, it's being changed. They're updating it right now.
Yes.
So they had made some sort of error.
Yeah,
Although I assume it's an error, but perhaps Dixon did get that many votes compared. But Sims just went from 240 votes to 0, so I think there was just a mistake made.
Yeah, it's because and mistakes can happen on this because folks, this is all being manually inputted. As those results are coming in to the probate office here. But it looks like the rec center now, it looks like those numbers are holding there. Got on the Democrat side, Boma Sims 0, Kennedy 10, Mercer 6, and Pilkington 0. And then on the Republican side, it is showing Dixon with 133 to Palmer 16 there. And it looks like the other box that may be starting to come in may be from the Emergency Assistance Center there.
Right. I think that's Enterprise Road.
It is that, and that is the largest Democratically leaning box in Chilton County. So it will be interesting to see there. In looking at these numbers. That are starting to, and we'll kind of get a little, there's been some talk in the heavily concentrated Democrat areas of people crossing over and voting on the Republican side to try to unseat candidates. So
that may be exactly what happened.
It's going to be interesting to see as these next few numbers come in from a Democrat-leaning box to see what the numbers show. Maybe not necessarily on the Democratic side of it, but what it shows on the Republican side to see if there was indeed, crossover voting there that took place. Because, like I said, this is an open primary now. Historically, if we were in a runoff, you can only vote in how you voted in the primary. But since this is the primary, you didn't have to. You just declared whether you wanted to vote Republican or Democrat.
Right.
So, that option is there for people to cross over. But from the Emergency Assistance Center that they have just updated, Mike, on the Democrat side, Boma Sims 3, Kennedy 41, Mercer 6, Pilkington 2, to Dixon's 52, to Palmer 6.
I'm wondering if they've got that backwards. Now, it could be that crossover factor that you were just discussing.
If those numbers hold true, I would think that there's going to be some evidence of crossover voting there. Because basically in crossover voting, what you're doing is you're voting against the candidate that has the greatest chance of winning.
The strongest candidate.
You're voting against the strongest candidate.
Right,
so
exactly.
It's very possible we could see that. We've also got numbers
we're getting them all now, it looks like.
It looks like they're rolling in from East Chilton there, Mike. If you want to go over that line item there.
Okay.
That's
East Chilton over there off 82. Excuse me, wait, that's not, that's West Chilton.
Yeah, East
Or
Chilton's out
South
toward
Chilton, actually.
Yeah, East Chilton's out toward the river.
Yeah, my bad. So on the Democratic side, Boma Sims has another 0. And then Kennedy has 2, Mercer 1, Pilkington 2. So just 5 Democratic votes. All right, now they're going back. Looks like they might be changing these numbers. You see where they're updating on Dixon, because the last 5 precincts have all, they're changing those numbers. I just didn't see how that would, even with crossover voting, I just don't see how it would be that dominant on Dixon's side against Palmer. So those numbers we'll have to update in a minute after they get those straight. Looks like they're changing them. As you just noticed, they changed Palmer from like 20 votes to 204. So apparently there's just a little bit of a mix up there. We'll give them a minute to get that straight, and then we'll update that shortly.
Great. Yeah, well, and one thing from where Dixon is at, when we get down into the southern part of the county, that's going to be closer to his home area there. So, we may be seeing a little the edge of that kind of what they would call home field advantage, so to speak, that's bleeding over into that. Because what we have to take into account is that when this district was redrawn, it did add those areas in part of Autauga and Elmore County there. So you are getting some people that maybe are not as familiar with Gary Palmer that may be more inclined to vote, for
the
somebody
local guy.
for the local.
Right.
And so we may be seeing the northern edge of that there. So
Several of those numbers have been actually just reversed. They were putting apparently were putting the vote count for Representative Palmer on Dixon's column but they're working on looks like they're working on straightening that out.
Yeah, I've seen that they have.
We'll update that in a minute. So anyway, but I tell you what, they did update. Let's go back to the Clanton Rec Center, because that was the first one that seemed awry to me. And there's no change on the Democratic side. You had Kennedy get 10 votes and Mercer 6. On the Republican side, you had Case Dixon with 25 votes and Gary Palmer 204, which is more in line with what we expected.
Correct.
And then the Emergency Assistance Center, which you mentioned was
that is the
strongest
Democratic
concentration of Democratic voters there. You had Kennedy get 41 votes, Mercer 6, Bowman Sims 3, and Pilkington 2, while Case Dixon had 6 votes on the Republican side. Gary Palmer has 52. Palmer also got 48 votes at East Chilton versus 10 for Dixon. And again, there were just 5 votes cast on the Democratic primary at the East Chilton Fire Department. At Verbena Fire Department, you had 5 for Kennedy and 11 for Mercer. And then on the Republican side, you had 7 for Dixon and 106 for Palmer.
Correct. Yeah. And it looks like we have the Hillcrest box, which is over on the western side of the county there. On the Democratic side, Bowman Sims 1, Kennedy 6, Mercer 6, and Pilkington 0. And then on the Republican side, Case Dixon with 1 and Gary Palmer with 85, and that's the Hillcrest box there. So, yeah, with that being corrected, it puts us more in line with kind of where that race has been projected to
Exactly.
go. And
so Maplesville Library has reported they had, according to this, 57 votes for Kennedy in the Democratic primary, 6 for Mercer. On the Republican side, you had 5 for Dixon and 42 for Gary Palmer. Isabella has also reported this time, the fire department there, 1 vote for Bowman Sims on the Democratic primary, 4 for Kennedy, 1 for Mercer, and Pilkington did not receive any votes at that precinct. On the Republican primary, you have Case Dixon has 16 votes, Gary Palmer 51. I think we already went over West Chilton, did we not?
We did. And just coming in off the press, just looking from kind of the statewide, some of the other races, it looks like that. Looks like Jerry Carl is going to win in his district, and Rhett Marquise is going to win in his district. So that's 2 winners that have been called.
Get that on AL.com?
It is. The state is reporting, yes, through the AP, that those 2 have.
Okay,
so it looks like we got
that's
just
excellent. That's interesting.
looks like we've got just Looks like they have filled in on the boxes here. To give you Providence number 1 out of North Chilton. On the Democrat side, Boma Sims 1, Kennedy 6, Mercer 5, Pilkington 0. And then on the Republican, Dixon 10 to Gary Palmer's 106. And then, let's see, Thorsby City Hall on Democrat was Boma Sims was 1, Kennedy 5, Mercer 6. Pilkington 0, and then on the Republican side, Case Dixon 12 to Palmer's 109 there. So
that's all of them.
That's all the boxes are reporting. So just to give you the overall totals for the evening, this is countywide with all boxes reporting. On the Democratic side, this is for the 6th Congressional District. Boma Sims with 19 votes countywide. Kennedy 207 votes countywide, Mercer 87 votes countywide, Pilkington 10 votes countywide. On the Republican side, Case Dixon 207, Gary Palmer 1606 there. So Gary Palmer taking Chilton County on the Republican side by a large margin.
That's approximately 88%.
And then it looks like for Chilton County, on the Democratic side, that Kennedy has taken Chilton County with a total of 207 votes there.
AL.com is saying that Ashton Kennedy has a lead of 55% in the Democrat primary, and Maurice Mercer with 33% is trailing her. So it's looking good for Ashton Kennedy.
Yes, looks like Kennedy will face Palmer there in the 6th Congressional District, which is solidly red. It is that has just always been it's always been a heavily Republican leaning district there, and I would. Outside of something major, Mike, I would still project that Gary will be able to maintain that seat.
I do too. I mean, he's in about as reddest part of Alabama he could be in right now.
Correct.
And that's I will hand it to Shelby County because they're the dominant county in our district, right? I mean,
correct.
Where
Population wise,
right?
correct.
Where they vote, that's where we go. That they basically, I mean, if you want to just get down to the brass tacks. They elect the rep. We could vote for the other candidate 100%, and it's still they could
correct.
They could win it.
Yeah, the majority, if they can, the population center is that. But what kind of makes this one unique is yes, the population center is there, but in the portion of Elmore County also has added a good population
number of voters.
Voters to the district there.
Does that include Wetumpka?
I believe when I was talking earlier today with I believe it is going to cover the area just north of Wetumpka there. Because I had a couple friends that were voting in the city of Wetumpka, and they were in the next district down. So I think it just goes to just north of Wetumpka is my understanding of the map there.
I do not see. Did you see any numbers come in on these Republican primaries?
I have not seen any firm numbers come in on those this evening yet. I'm sure as the night goes, as numbers get pulled in to, like I said, the other counties there. But I would suspect just what we have seen here in Chilton County is going to give us pretty much a gleaning of what we can expect from the rest of the district.
I think you're right too. I was just curious about District 2, District 1 and District 2, because they've already declared Carl and Marquise the winners, and I've seen no results.
Correct. It's
they may have some sort of exit poll or something.
I was going to say they could be basing that off of preliminary results, and could also be exit polling in that as well. And depending with a lot of these campaigns, just so people too kind of understand, once the polls closed, the poll workers there, they will run a tabulation from their machine, and then it is normally taped or affixed to the entrance of the polling place there. So a lot of these candidates will have people stationed at each polling place and are able to kind of get a tabulation before everything reaches the courthouse or each county's designated areas. So,
right.
you know, some of these candidates, if they've got enough people to scan out and have one at each polling place, they can call in, and normally within 20, 30 minutes of closing can get a good idea of where they stand for the evening.
Well, Aaron, I was going to reference a story that I've told before, and I think I may have told it back in April, May, May, I guess it was, the first primary, about being a poll watcher.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't involved in tabulating anything. My job was to observe and try to make sure that nothing untoward happened, because there had been a huge crossover, which caused major lawsuits. You recall, I mean, I'm talking in the 80s. So, I mean, you know, you're not voting at that point, you know, not based on what I learned.
It's
yet. But I just remember it was such a big deal because it did influence the candidates. I mean, because the Republicans crossed over and voted for one of either Charlie Graddick or Bill Baxley. And then that basically handed the election to Guy Hunt.
Correct.
Which was just a shock because he came from nowhere. He actually was reelected.
Correct.
So he served almost 2 terms before he was.
Guy Hunt was the first Republican governor of the state of Alabama since Reconstruction. That was over
a big deal. It was a big deal
that he had gotten elected.
And the laws changed after that, to where they tried to limit that or eliminate it.
There's some proposals that are being brought forward now to, you know, close the primary system. In other words, to stating that you have to declare a party, and if you declare that party, that is the only primary you can vote in. So it's going to be interesting to see, based upon the results in November, if any of that gains traction, and if they're able to get that written into the law and, you know, enforced there. So it'll be interesting to see.
Well, let's talk one more time, and we'll refresh those results. In Chilton County, in the Democratic primary, we had Ashton Kennedy with 207 votes, and Maurice Mercer was second with 87. And on the Republican side, Gary Palmer, 1,606 votes, and Case Dixon, 207. So a convincing victory for Palmer. And again, on the Democratic side, just by those sheer numbers, I think you can tell in November where the county's going to go.
Where we'll be at.
Yep.
So as we draw to a close here this evening, we thank you for staying with us this afternoon. Results a little later coming in than we initially anticipated, so we appreciate your patience, and we appreciate you continuing to make Piper Peach Radio your choice for your election night coverage. So as we wind our time down here this evening, Mike, it has been a pleasure to share the microphone with you this evening. And we look forward to being back with everyone again in November.
In November, I was just going to comment. I look forward to working with you in November. Lord willing, as I said earlier, that we're able to do it, but expecting that. And it's going to be exciting. I'm interested to see if this pays off. This gerrymandering pays off for the Republicans.
Absolutely. So,
because Figures is a very popular Democratic.
He is very popular within the Democratic Party. The Republicans also working on unseating Terry Sewell as well. So November is going to be very interesting. So make your plans to join us on election night in November. It will be a very, very interesting show as we cover races from not only here affecting our area, but as we take a look at some of the races nationwide that is going to affect us over the next couple of years. So again, thank you for making Piper Peach Radio your choice for election night coverage. So on behalf of Mike and myself, our time's up this evening. We thank you for yours. Thank you for joining us. Good night, and God bless.